Hey, welcome to this week's product showcase. Steve Dotto here. How the heck are you doing this fine day? I'm just checking our feeds here to make sure we'll get going officially here in just a few seconds. A great big hello to all of you. Let's take a look here. Come on. And there it goes. Ah, looks like it's live. How exciting is that? I love it when a live stream comes together. I hate it when we have problems. No problems today. Let's problem moratorium. Welcome to this week's product showcase here at Dotto Tech. Each and every week, we try and share with you great products and meet the people behind them. And this week, we've got something special for you planned. We're going to be meeting the folks from Mixmax. Now, let me know in the chat if you know what Mixmax is, if you've tried Mixmax. Tell me what your thoughts are on Mixmax. Now, Mixmax, for those of you who don't know, is a Gmail. It's a Gmail enhancer. It's a tool that allows us to manage and to enhance the capabilities of Gmail, turning it from a simple email client into a conversion machine, allowing you to gain far more control over scheduling, over templates, over conversations, creating entire funnels of conversations, of kind of almost like a CRM where we create an email pipeline, managing all of those aspects. Now, I've been using it for I think 4 months now, and it's become it's entrenched in my systems. It's something that I use each and every day and have come to rely on. I can't imagine. Email would seem like black and white. It's like changing your black and white Gmail into color Gmail. That's what it's like. It does that kind of, it gives me that kind of control, and it's a good thing. So, but I will let you decide for yourself. Each week on the product showcase, as I said, we try and discover these great products and share them with you. Now, the format, for those of you who are new to us, is very similar to the format that we do on our Webinar Wednesdays. For those of you who participate in Webinar Wednesday, I have pre-recorded a demonstration and an interview with Loretta Jones, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for Mixmax. So you'll get a nice demonstration of what the product does, including its basic and kind of most exciting features. We will show those to you while it's going on. We will be in chat. We've got some members of the Mixmax team in chat with us as well to answer your questions. So this is the time. If you have any questions about this service, if you have any questions about the tool, now is the time to ask it, because we have the experts online to help us out and answer those questions. And then the folks at Mixmax have generously offered a nice discount for the Dotto Tech community. If you decide this is a tool you want to use, we will be sharing a link with you so you can save some money if you decide to use Mixmax. And I think a lot of you are going to give it a real serious look. You know, if you've played with tools in the past like Boomerang and found that enhancing the functionality of Gmail is something that makes sense for you, then Mixmax is a tool you are going to want to take a look at. And there are a couple of features which I'll show you right off the top during the demonstration that will blow you away. Every single person who I've shown these features to has gone crazy. They've gone, when you've demoed as many products as I have, occasionally you just know the winning features that if you show somebody, they go, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. And there are a couple of features in Mixmax, which I'm not gonna steal the byline and tell you right this second. But if you watch the beginning of the demo, you'll see, and you'll probably agree with me that, that's worth you having just for a couple of these simple and basic features. I see Farley's. Oh, geez, Farley. Seriously? Welcome to a live broadcast. Anyways, Farley's done it before. He will do it again. I was just talking with Loretta about Farley interrupting things before, how he has done it in the past, and he will do it again in the future. No, that wasn't. I especially don't want you here right now. Go sit down. I am not petting that mouth of yours. Jeez. There we go. All right. So, with that. Big welcome to everyone. Let me take a look here in the chat. How many people we got online? We've got 84 people here now. Hello, Bob. How you doing? Yeah, you know, dogs are good. Dogs be dogs. You can't control them. But he's completely hijacked the Mixmax. Mixmax. Oh, good. He's going to sleep now. Shh. Don't, don't anybody disturb him. We'll just let him be. All right. And if we're not careful, the cat might interrupt. Actually, I think the cat does interrupt. Todd Maffin is here. Todd, I use Mixmax. I could have. I wish you could afford the white label option. So, well, then maybe we'll convince you today that you need the white label options for it, Todd. Looking forward to your feedback on it. All right, folks, let's see here. We're about 5 minutes in. We'll give it another minute for you. It's not insanely funny. It's kind of, well, it is. I can't tell you the number. Well, it's... people who are here regularly know that Farley will do almost anything to cause concern. All right. Okay. Let's get into the video. I think I've completely lost my composure because of that, which is just, after all those years of doing live television, you'd think I'd be better, but no. All right. So let's take a look at Mixmax. As I say, I'll give you guys a couple of caveats to make sure that you're spending your time well with us for this live stream. Mixmax is a Gmail-only product at the current time, so if you aren't using Gmail as your main email client or a Google Suite, then this isn't. If you're an Outlook user right now, this isn't for you now. I imagine at some point this product is going to expand the platforms that it works on. But right now this is a Gmail only platform. So if you're in the Google ecosphere, then you're going to want to watch. If you have customer facing interaction, if you want to email and have more control over your customers, a conversion pipeline, having more control over the conversations, this product showcase is for you. We are going to roll this pre-recorded demo, which I did, which is about a 20-minute demo and interview, which will show you the base features, the things that really I think are most important about it, and you'll learn a little bit about the company behind the product. There's lots of choices out there, and you've got to determine whether or not Mixmax is a company that you want to work with, because if you start investing in building systems around a tool like Mixmax, you want to make sure that they're there for the long haul, so I want you to meet the people behind them. It gives me tremendous confidence when I choose products, having conversations with the teams behind them. And Mixmax has a stellar team. I think you will agree by the time we are done. So with that, I think we should jump into the video. You ready for the video? Let's have a look. And while it's going on, I will be in chat. We've also got Liz and April in chat, and Mixmax's team is in chat as well. So let's just get going and have a look at Mixmax. I have been using Mixmax now for about 4 months. It's become part of my own personal communication system. Still learning some of the tricks and tips with it. But let me take you on a quick tour of what Mixmax is. Now, Mixmax is a Chrome extension. It's going to plug into Chrome. That's the only way you can currently use it. They're working on a mobile app and integration with other apps, other email services. But essentially now it's a Gmail-only tool. It's a tool that you use with a Gmail or Google Suite account. And it plugs into Chrome, works within the browser, so you'll see it right here at the very top of the screen. So you see it here installed in the Chrome browser, but for the most part, you'll end up using it most often just within actual emails. Now, Mixmax manages your email. It extends what you can do within Gmail, giving you some extra functionality of things that you can embed within emails and things that you can automatically take action on based on people's interactions with your email. Plus, it has very powerful reporting that lets you know what's happening out there in the wild with your email. So let me start. I think the best place to start is to show you it in the compose window, because this is the coolest thing. And it kind of speaks right away to how it begins to give you more control over your day-to-day email communications. So what are one of the things that we often do within email? We always set up appointments with others. Now, some people, there are some great services that you have automatic calendar scheduling apps where you can have set up a template and people can go in, they can select time from your calendar. Now, personally, I don't like to have my calendar open and allow people to select time. Instead, if I'm booking a meeting with you, I'd rather give you a few options of times to book. Now, what Mixmax will do, it'll allow us to automate that entire process. It integrates with your Gmail, your Google Calendar, and here within the Compose window in Gmail, it's added these extra features. These features are, oh, really? Do you want to be on camera? Oh, you want me to feed you? 2 seconds. To be fair, the cat seldom interrupts the dog on a regular basis. Take a look here at this new message. Here we see all of the different extra features that Mixmax brings to the table. And we'll look at some of these. We won't have time to look at them all today. But the one I'm going to start with, this one blew me away. This one absolutely blew me away. Schedule a meeting. What it does is it connects with your Google Calendar and allows you to share your availability instantly. Now, I know there's lots of good calendar management applications where you can set up calendar links where people can select time from you and create an appointment with you based on your calendar. But I don't like having my whole calendar open. I don't like scheduling out my availability that far in the future. It just doesn't work for me. Instead, I would vastly prefer to be able to give you some options of a time to meet with me. And this allows total control over that. Watch what happens. I go here, share my availability. When I click on share my availability, it opens up into a window here what my current availability is based on my calendar. And I can go into my availability here and I can select times from within that availability for us to have a meeting. I can choose the length of that meeting for you to select, and I can actually add these other spots there. I can choose if it's going to be video conferenced. I can choose if I want to send a Zoom link as far as the invite goes. So what will happen is this will go out then in the email, and what the person will see is this. They will see this little dialog box within their email that allows them to select a time, and then it goes through the normal calendar invite process where it plugs the time into my calendar, plugs the time into their calendar, sets up the attendees of the meeting, etc., and any additional notes that you've incorporated. This is a really, really slick system, and it's something that I use over and over again. And for me, it was the calling card for Mixmax. When I saw this feature, I said, regardless of anything else that this tool does, I want to use this, and that's why I installed Mixmax, was this one feature. Now, the other feature that so many people appreciate in Mixmax is not in the send and receive window here, is not in the compose window, but is when you open the Mixmax console, which is right here, and here's where we go in and we manage all of the different aspects of Mixmax. And one of the most important is it reports back who's opened your email, when they've opened it, how often they've opened it, and if they've responded to anything that you've put within the email, if they've replied or they've made an appointment based on your calendar invite, etc. So we can see here that Ollie, this is actually from last week's webinar. We did Bonjoro last week. Ollie was our guest, and here was a follow-up email, and I can see when Ollie has opened the emails that I've sent to him. So this gives you a lot of control over your communications. It's really frustrating if you send an email to somebody and you don't know if they've opened it. So you don't know in your next email follow-up if you want to assume that they've read the previous email, or if you're nagging them, or if they've opened it and have ignored you. So this gives you some context. And if you see somebody's opened your email 8 or 10 times, yet they haven't replied, well, that will give you some intel of how you possibly should be approaching them in your next communication. Maybe you go to a different route. Maybe you send them a text, or maybe you reach out to them on social media. This gives you a lot more intelligence about what's happening with your communications. This management console gives us insight into the rest of what Mixmax does for us, allowing us to create rules and to create sequences and templates to manage our emails. So we can create templates of emails that we send regularly, let's say with price sheets or with offers or with first communications. And we can also create email sequences, much like we would in an email autoresponder, but from a far more personal level. This is hands-on management of your email communications. Let's visit and meet Loretta Jones, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at Mixmax, and find out why Mixmax was born in the first place.
So Mixmax was started by three founders, and they had this vision at the time where they said, the internet has changed; it's become more engaging. There's workflow, but when you look at email is basically still black text on a white background. So there's got to be a way to make it more engaging and kind of make it keep up with the internet, all of the kind of innovations on the internet, like pictures and videos and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, wouldn't this be really cool if we could get this type of stuff into email to make email more engaging? So they started to build a product around that, and then came kind of the workflow piece, which is, this is great, but really what we want computers to do more of the manual tasks that humans do, right? So that humans can really focus on the things that their job requires of them, which is in many cases interacting with more humans. So that's kind of how the product has evolved over time.
So I think we've already seen a few of the ways that Mixmax helps us communicate with others. Taking a look back in the message compose window, they have a reminder option, which is sort of like Boomerang. You know the feature of Boomerang that allows you to have an email come into your inbox and then say, you know what, I'm not ready to deal with that right now. I want to deal with that tomorrow or the next day. So it sends it out and it comes back and reminds you that you have this message. It's a similar process here, which really helps you reduce email overload by the fact that you only have messages in your inbox that you want to deal with. Mixmax also supports the creation of templates, so you can create templates of emails that you're going to be sending on a regular basis in sequences, which are of course a series of emails, and also it allows you to manage follow-ups. And then down in the bottom, they also allow you to turn on and off tracking, so you can track clicks, downloads of individuals that are receiving your emails. And you can even have desktop notifications so you know when somebody has read an email. But that sort of surfaces one issue that we want to make sure that we address, and that is the issue of privacy. How do you feel about tracking the opens of emails, and how would you feel if somebody is tracking whether or not you've opened your email? So I asked Loretta how a lot of Mixmax customers deal with that.
I think it depends. Yes. So some people do let people know that, yes, I know you've opened my email. In fact, me personally, when I've sent out emails, I said, hey, I just saw you opened my email, right? And some do not do that. So again, I think it just depends on the business model and who you're working with, right? And kind of what relationship you have with that person that you are working with.
I want to dive into the weeds a little bit now and take a look at the advanced features, the management features that are built here into the Mixmax console, including the rules and the sequences. Now, the rules and sequences allow you to create automatic responses or automatic triggers to people's activity within your email.
The product has kind of evolved to more than just an email, like how do you make your job more efficient? So we essentially have created workflows for people, for our users, not workflows that what we call are kind of headless workflows, which just kind of transfer data from one place to another, but workflow that kind of fits into the way that you do your job.
Let me show you how those workflows can come together. And it will start, I think, most of the time with you creating an email rule. So let's create a new rule together. And when we create a new rule, these are the things that we can create rules on. These are the triggers based on an email sequence, a call, a task. Some of them are manual, some of them are automatic. Obviously, if you have a call, you'll have to log that as you're going. But let's start with an automatic one where we choose with an email. And here are our options. When I receive an email, when I send an email, or when my email is open. Since we talked about the opening and I was showing you that aspect, let's follow up on that one. Here's the trigger that I'm adding. When my email is opened, I continue. Now I can add a condition. And the condition that I'm going to add is here. These are the things. If it's based on this subject, this is the one that's interesting. If it's based on the number of times it's opened. So you could create a rule to get a notification back when your email has been opened 3 times. Or you could say, I want to send this email to somebody after they've opened an email 3 times. You can create these sort of logical sequences. This is a very, very powerful environment. Once you've set up these different triggers and these different rules, you can then use those rules and apply them. I'm not going to save that one right now. And you can apply them into sequences where you create email sequences much as you would in a CRM, where you create an email funnel where a logical series of emails are sent and followed up. But unlike a CRM, this is a little more hands-on. This isn't a fire and forget sort of email sequence and follow-up sequence.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, so it's funny because I actually just did a blog post today on personalization versus automation, right? And that's kind of, let's take, for example, our sales audience, right? That is kind of, a question that they ask all the time. How much do you want to personalize? Because when you're talking to a prospect, you want to make sure that they think that, hey, you have an interest in them as a human, versus, I have to build this pipeline, right? I need to do all of this activity. I can't personalize every single email, right? So there's always a balance there. So the good news is that you can create sequences, which are kind of steps of emails, nurture emails, and you can determine how often they should go out. You can also even determine the length of them, right? We recommend for best practices that your sequences are anywhere from 10 to 15 touches. And the other thing is that each touch can be a different type of touch. So, for example, one touch could be an email, maybe another touch is a task, and maybe another touch is a phone call, maybe a fourth touch even reaching out to them on LinkedIn, because we have an integration with LinkedIn. So there's a lot of different ways that you can personalize your communication with your prospects. Same thing and I'm talking about this from a sales perspective. The same thing, you can do it from customer success as well as if you are a talent acquisition person.
Now, you can dive in and get to know Mixmax without making a big financial commitment. They have a free version that will allow you to do a lot of what we're showcasing right now.
In the free version, it's really you're getting a lot of the functionality you're getting at the paid version, but you're just getting less of it, right? So, for example, instead of being able to send, 10 or create 10 templates, maybe you can only create 2, that type of thing. So some of the advanced features like the rules and the workflow automation, which is some of our, secret sauce, you don't get that on the free account. But the basic functionality, like doing calendar and seeing if your email's been opened, you'll get that on the free account.
She came back to those 2 features, visualizing whether or not your email has been opened and those calendar invites. When I show people those 2 features, almost everybody reacts immediately that this is something that they want. So I asked Loretta if it drives a little bit crazy, knowing that she's got all of these advanced features in the rules and sequences and templates, but people get just so excited about being able to put a calendar invite into an email or view whether or not somebody's opened your email.
Well, yes and no. You know why? Because that's a good hook, right? And you're right. The product does integrate with Google Calendar very seamlessly. And I mean, even the first time I saw it, before I even started working here, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. What is that? And that's usually people's reactions. That is so cool. So to me, even though that is one of the pieces of basic functionality in the product, because people's reaction is kind of an aha moment, it's good because it grabs people's attention and they're like, well, what else can I do with this, right? So typically when people come to us, the calendar functionality and email tracking, like who opened my email, those are the first 2 things that people use. They're very, very basic functionality. But once they get beyond that, that's when they get into the templates, the sequences, the automation, and that's when kind of really the product, hums along.
So who does Loretta see Mixmax's ideal customer avatar being?
So our ideal customer profile is essentially a company that it really ranges anywhere from, let's say, 100 to 500 employees. And the good news about Mixmax is that it can be used in what we call 3 different customer-facing departments. So we define a customer-facing department as anyone who really, in their day-to-day work, has to deal with prospects, customers, or candidates. So, for example, a sales team, that would be a customer-facing department. If you have a customer success or an account management team, that would be a customer-facing department. And if you have a recruiting team or a talent acquisition team, that would be a customer-facing department. So really, these customer-facing departments are people that are on their every day of their job is really to focus on people outside of the organization.
Now, I find Mixmax works very well with a small enterprise like ours here at Dotto Tech. I'm finding tremendous value, but I recognize that if you're in a slightly larger organization, using a tool like Mixmax in a team environment has to have tremendous value. Imagine allowing a sales manager to be able to view all of the different sales funnels and the communications and the open rate and the engagement that his team is having with their customers, and then being able to coach them based on their performance.
So a couple things with Teams, which is really cool, is that you can always share your communication. So a lot of times, let's say your sales team is using it, and you're a sales manager or sales director. What you'll do is you will go into the product and you'll look at our reporting, and we'll say, hey, guess what? You know what? It looks like Janice's sequence is getting the best performance, right? So you know what? Everybody in my team, let's use Janice's sequence. So what it does is that it makes sure that your team is always very performant, right? So it makes sure that you're always getting the best response from your prospects, the best response from your customers, because it's just refining.
I always like to ask my guest one question, which is, what are the features in your tool that you wish more people really heavily engaged in, that you see tremendous value in, but doesn't get used as much as you think it should?
Oh yeah, for sure. And that is, as I talked about a little bit earlier, our Mixmax rules, our workflow automation, right? The ability to take a lot of manual tasks that you have and automate them so that you can kind of focus on your job. So here's an example. Let's say you're in a company and you close a customer. So as a salesperson, typically what do you do to after you close that customer? There might be a bunch of admin tasks. So first you close the customer, right? That's great. Then what happens is you've got to go into Salesforce and you probably have to close that opportunity, right? Then what you do is you manually go into Salesforce again, and maybe you create a task for, like I said, the customer success person to reach out and say, hey, welcome to Mixmax. I'm going to take you through onboarding. Let's schedule it. Then what you probably might want to do is you might want to just, obviously reply to the customer and say, hey, thanks so much for becoming a Mixmax customer. And so, there's a series of steps that people typically do from a sales perspective. And then maybe what you do is you might go into Slack, let's say, and you might say, hey, guess what? We won this big customer, and everybody's all excited, right? Because Slack is kind of the new way to ring the sales bell these days, right? So what if you could create a workflow across all of those applications so that as soon as the account closes, all of those things happen automatically because you've created one workflow across Salesforce, across Slack, across all these different applications that you use. And that's really what the power of Mixmax is for a lot of the automation.
When you start getting into setting up rules and tasks and sequences, obviously it's going to require a little bit of understanding of the internal machinations of the software. So I asked Loretta what resources are available to help us learn to use Mixmax more effectively.
We have a our customer success team holds a kind of Mixmax University webinar every week. So you can attend that webinar. You also can go to success.mixmax.com, which is our online help portal, and that has a whole section on rules on how to create them. So the good thing about rules is that you can create them as a user, and if you're a Mixmax admin, you can even create organizational rules on behalf of your users as well.
At the end of the day, what's Mixmax all about?
As our VP of sales says, right? People buy from people, right? They don't buy from technology. They will buy technology from people, but that's what they do. They buy from people. So you have to kind of use all of the tools that you have available to make it easy for them to buy from you, make it easy for them to do business with you.
I like Mixmax. It's one of those tools that very quickly becomes integral to the way you do business. I would miss it were it to be removed from my toolkit, so I have no intention of uninstalling it, and I have no hesitation in recommending it for the right person. And I am back. Okay, that was a look at Mixmax, a very deep and involved tool, which, as I mentioned several times, has become integral for me. The awareness that I have of when people have opened my emails and that control, that's increasingly becoming something that I rely on and that I just kind of expect to have there. Now, when I send an email, I'm not confused and it's not in the dark as to when somebody has opened it and when I'm ready to kind of make that next communication and have that next conversation. Additionally, that scheduling feature in the calendars, which is available, I think, in the free version. I think you have access to using that in the free version. That will change your world. That will just change your world as far as organization. I know a lot of people like to use tools like Calendly, and we like Book Like a Boss. There's a lot of great tools that allow people to schedule your time. But I like being in control of that. I like offering people a small set of times that they can book me so that I kind of am a little bit more in control of my schedule. Maybe that's just me, but I think a lot of you, if you think about it, will appreciate that feature. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to bring our guest Loretta on. Hey, Loretta, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Good stuff. Welcome. Thanks so much for doing that interview with me and for helping us out here at Dotto Tech and sharing your product with our community.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
So what we'll do right now is we'll fill everybody in on the special offer that you guys have put together for Mixmax, and then we'll answer questions. If any of you have any questions right now, get them in about Mixmax, and Loretta and her team can answer them. So post those questions right now. We've got a few in the hopper that we will get to that were brought up during the pre-record. But tell us what you got for us as far as a special offer for our community.
Oh, yes, we're very excited. So for your specific community, we are offering 25% off our growth and our small business plans. And if you go to, we have a specific landing page for your community. It's http://getmixmax.com/dotto_tech_land. So it's a little bit of a long URL, but I'm sure you can pass it out. And at that URL, your community can sign up for our free trial, for our 14-day free trial. For either our small business or our growth plan. And then at the end of the 14-day free trial, they will get 25% off their annual subscription price.
Good stuff. So we'll drop that link in. So that's based on the annual and the premium versions. Now, tell me, the free version has the calendar app, right?
Yes. Yes.
And people and there is a forever free version. You can be using that. You just don't have access to a lot of the more sophisticated implementation. So people can utilize the service without spending money at this point.
That's correct. Yes, exactly. So everybody can start off on a free 14-day trial. If they like it, obviously they can continue to pay us and become paid customers. And if it doesn't work for them, or if now is not a good time for them to pay, they can drop down to the free account and then upgrade at any point in time in the future.
And the free account it's got some of those base features. Now, one of the questions that came up, which was a great one, Extreme Coxer said, is email tracking based on a tracking pixel? And I wondered about that as well myself when I started to use it, because it's remarkably accurate. And so it turns out that it's not. Am I correct? Or that it is based on a tracking pixel, not the other method, which is there's an embedded graphic which gets tracked.
Correct, right. It is a pixel, and actually our engineers are constantly refining that because that is one of our most popular features. So we're always working on making sure that that is as accurate as possible. Because also one of the things that differentiates us from our competitors in terms of the email tracking and the opens is if you actually send it, let's say you send your email to 3 or 4 people, we will actually tell you which of those 3 or 4 people have actually opened it. So it's very individual. So obviously if I just send it to you, I'll know, but if I send it to a distribution list, I'll know that as well. So it's something that we work very hard on refining, as you mentioned, to make it as accurate as possible.
Yeah, and that is when you open up that tracking window, the information is sometimes, well, you see what device they're viewing it on, if they're viewing it on their mobile device, or what client, if they're viewing it in webmail, or if they're viewing it in Outlook. And then, as you say, you'll get also geographical information. I know I sent that some of the replies when I'm dealing with companies that have virtual offices like we do, I see that it was opened by somebody in Toronto, then it was opened by somebody in Dallas, then it was opened by somebody in Milan. And that makes me feel very cosmopolitan, I have to say.
Very cosmopolitan and global.
That's right. So next question that we actually had, which I want to see, was talking about how many accounts, email aliases. So if you have a lot of us use email aliases for different projects. The same account can use multiple email aliases?
Well, you would need to have, if you have different email addresses, you would need to have a Mixmax license for those emails, right? Because we integrate with each email account individually, and there's actually more information on that on our help portal that you were talking about at success.mixmax.com. You can find more information about that.
Good stuff. All right. Next question that I saw here. Where are we? I bet you get this an awful lot. What are the plans to work with other email clients and calendar systems?
Well, at this we do get that a lot. You're right, and so that is something that our engineers are always looking into and determining kind of what other email systems we need to integrate with. Right now, I would say the near and medium future, we are still just going to integrate with Gmail, but you can look for other email packages in the future.
My good friend Todd Maffin says, I've used Mixmax's small business plan for 3 years. Download tracking is amazing. Is there a way to add the branded emails without having to pay double every month? I'd gladly pay an extra $5 a month just for that. So Todd's trying to negotiate a better deal for himself here in public.
Oh, got it. Okay. Well, I'm not at liberty to negotiate a deal in public with you, Todd, but feel free to send me an email, loretta@mixmax.com, and I'll pass you on to the appropriate account rep.
Let's talk a little bit about integrations. Is there an API, or is it primarily, if you are integrating with other platforms, is it primarily something you're going to do through a Zapier type interface?
No, there is an API, and we have actually created a bunch of out-of-the-box integrations ourselves, and that's why we can do the workflow that you were talking about and that we were talking about in the interview, the ability to kind of create one workflow seamlessly across multiple applications. We've done that work ourselves, and then if there obviously is an application where we don't have an integration, you could either use a webhook or you could use our API.
Good stuff. Yeah, especially I think Salesforce. Is Salesforce your biggest integration?
Salesforce is one of our integrations. In terms of CRM, we have 3 integrations. We have Salesforce, we have Pipedrive, and we have Copper. Those are the main 3 that we have right now.
And you also have a LinkedIn integration, which
we do have a LinkedIn integration. Exactly.
Tell me how that works, because when I was editing the video that we recorded, it came up, and I listened to it. I said I should have dived. I should have asked more questions about that because that sounds fascinating. So tell me how it works, first of all.
Yeah, so one of the ways that it's used, which is very popular, is you talked about using sequences, which are a step of stages that you can send out to somebody. And so there's a couple ways you could do it. You could put a LinkedIn stage in your sequence. So at some point, once you've sent an email, you could then reach out to the person on LinkedIn and say, hey, let's connect. The other thing that you could do is you could even use it in a workflow. So you were talking about you could set up an automation where if someone views your email, let's say more than 2 times, then the next automatic thing that would happen would that you would reach out to them and reach out to them for LinkedIn and have a connection request. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can take advantage of that.
I like that. I like the idea of mixing up your communication channels to kind of keep things fresh, to keep the conversation fresh. Because I guess over time, as you get to know somebody, you'll get to know what their preferred place of communication is. But as you're in that courtship phase, it might be nice to kind of spread it around a little bit.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, different people communicate different ways, right? So you want to make sure that, like you said, is where you're in that courtship phase, that you can kind of find the medium that is most convenient for them and then work with them in that medium.
So Marcia's asking if it works with Zoho, and it's not really. I guess you could create some integrations, but there's not a direct connection, correct?
That's correct. You could, like I said, use a webhook, or you could use our API, but right now we do not have a direct connection to Zoho.
Yeah, and John is again asking for clarification. This is a Gmail based in the browser tool, and is it only a Chrome extension, or is there?
Yes, we do have a Chrome extension, exactly. Yeah, so the Mixmax sidebar is essentially a Chrome extension. So yes, it's definitely Gmail G Suite.
Yeah, you're in the Google ecosphere if you're doing it. Good stuff. I'm not too sure about this one. So Mike's asking, just stumbled in, thanks Steve. Is there any common ground between Mixmax and Mailshake, or am I able to use Mixmax as a standalone mail client?
I'm not familiar with Mailshake, so I'm not really sure I can answer that. You might have, feel free to email me and I can do some research, but I'm not really that familiar with Mailshake, unfortunately.
And I really wouldn't consider looking at Mixmax as a standalone mail client, but it is 100% integrated with Gmail if you're using, or Google Suite if you're using that as an email client. So its tools weave in completely. Correct. So there's really no difference then between your standalone client and Gmail at that point there. But you will quickly use, a lot of the communication doesn't happen within the Gmail browser interface, but in the Mixmax dashboard. You'll be spending that almost as much time there as you would spend in your inbox. At least that's my experience.
Yep. I mean, and one of the nice things about you mentioned the dashboard is, so for example, you can go into the dashboard and create templates and sequences, and then when you're actually in Gmail, you don't have to go into the dashboard. All you have to do is pull up your Compose, and you know how you saw that row of buttons where it's the calendar. You just pull one in there from there and then send your email out based on a template that you've created.
Ronald Brown's asking, in the email, is there a message that indicates tracking? And so is there a default message in the email that indicates that you're being tracked, or is that something that you're going to have to figure out how you want to deal with the ethos of yourself?
Oh, you would have to deal with that, the ethos of yourself. You have the ability to turn tracking on or turn tracking off. So it's not something, it's obviously your choice as the sender. That you just determine if you want to use that feature.
And you might want to add a disclaimer to the bottom of your email if you're concerned that you do track openings. I would say that would be something well worth considering. And I did show you in the demo. If you watch the replay later today, I actually show you that feature right within it. It's very easy to find where you turn on and off the tracking as you're going along. And so, so the recipient doesn't see whether, and people that have no indication that they're being tracked themselves, so they can't say, has my email been opened? But it's no different as far as that goes. There's a lot of presence features now in instant messaging. People know when you've seen a Facebook message, etc. So that's become pretty much a de rigueur, I think, in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. But I understand sensibilities to it. Let's drop in once again. So we have a special offer for the Dotto Tech community. There's a couple of ways that you can start using Mixmax. They have a 14-day free trial. If you decide that you want to continue on, if you register through the link that we are dropping in the chat right now, you'll get a 25% discount on their annual plans. And if you decide that you like this service but you aren't quite ready to pay yet, you can drop back to the free service and you have access to a lot of the coolest features. The golly gosh darn, that's a really neat thing feature of the scheduling, which I've got to tell you, you will end up using all the time. If you don't have it, if you were to uninstall Mixmax after having that feature for even just a couple of weeks, you would miss it ever so much. Okay, got in late. Okay, let me just take a look here. Got in late. Does it integrate and play with Zoom? Not really.
Yes. We do. Yes, we do have a Zoom integration. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. In the calendar app, as you choose the calendar, there's a drop down where I always pre-select that booking the meeting in as a Zoom meeting. So that is fully integrated with Zoom. So that's there. It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is. And also because obviously we integrate with like you said, the Google ecosphere, you could also just use a Google Hangout. But yes, so we do have an integration with Zoom. Yep.
Does anybody use Google Hangouts? Every once in a while somebody asks me for a meeting in Google Hangouts, and I have to say I kind of laugh at them. Now I realize it's part of the Google suite, but really?
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Good stuff. And as April says, great questions. So we'll just keep things going for a few more seconds, folks. How long are we into this? We are at we're at the 41-minute mark. It's good. I like to keep these under an hour. We're well under an hour, but if you have any other questions, ask now. Let me let you know what will happen here within with this replay. So these live streams we will leave online after after we sign off today. It takes YouTube a few hours to re-encode and re-upload the video, but you can come back and you can revisit, so you can watch this again should you choose to. That actual demo that I did with Loretta in showcasing the product, we'll be posting that on the Dotto Tech YouTube channel at some point we're going to wait about 3 or 4 weeks, and then we will be posting that again. So you will have access to that, and we'll be talking a lot more about Mixmax on the channel. Certainly, based on your feedback, if you guys want to learn more, we would consider doing other videos on Mixmax on the channel as we move along. A reminder that this live stream, this is a regular feature that we do here on Dotto Tech almost every week. Not next week. Next week, I am going to be at Vid Summit in Los Angeles talking to other YouTube content creators. The following week, I think our next product showcase is going to be taking a look at Get Lately, which is a social media dashboard for automatically creating social posts and some other aspects. It's a very, very cool product. We'll be looking at that in a couple of weeks when we come back. But if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of the product showcases, there are 2 things you can do. One is, if you're not yet subscribed to the Dotto Tech channel, please subscribe to the channel and then ring that notification bell. And then when we go live, an hour before we go live, you'll get notification that we are going live. At least theoretically, you'll get notification. YouTube is sometimes a little parsimonious. little cheap on sharing those, but for the most part, you'll hear about it that way. And the other way that you can make sure that you hear about our upcoming product showcase is to be subscribed to our newsletter, which you can subscribe to by visiting dottotech.com and subscribing there to the newsletter. And we send out notification on the product showcase at that point. If you have a product that you want us to feature, drop us a note, either at info@dottotech.com or here in the chat. If there's something that you want to see us feature here on the product showcase, let us know. We're always looking for great ideas, but they have to have great people behind them. That's the key, is cool products with the great people behind them. Let me have one more run through here, the questions to check as we go along. Okay, sorry, there we go. Is there an integration with, I'm not too sure about this one. Mike's asking, Acumenita.erp. I don't know that program, so is there an integration there?
No, not to my knowledge. No, I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that product either.
Oh, Daryl's asking, unrelated question, but I want to answer it. The software we're using to do this, we are using Ecamm Live. I will get Liz or April to grab our link. We do have an affiliate link for Ecamm Live. Ecamm Live for doing these live streams is a freaking awesome tool. We will be showcasing it here on an upcoming product showcase, and we have YouTube videos on using Ecamm on the Dotto Tech channel, so you can do a quick search for Ecamm there. But we love this product. It is, for doing this, it's a terrific tool for doing all of the switching, feeding the live stream video in. We've got Loretta joining us. We can and we're probably only using about 40% of the capability of the product ourselves here. It's a terrific product. So Ecamm Live, I'm hoping that somebody is going to drop that link in for you momentarily. Next, Ian, since this is a Chrome extension, will it work with Windows, OS, and Linux?
Are you running, I guess the question is, would he be running, for example, Chrome on a Mac or on a different iOS system? Is that the question?
I think is if you're using a Chrome browser in any of these platforms, is Mixmax going to work fine in all of them?
It should work fine because, yes, it is a Chrome extension. So as long as you, for example, I have a Mac and I'm using Chrome on my Mac, so and it works fine. So I believe that should be the case, but if he wants to check 100%, I would recommend that he or she, I'm not sure who answered the question or who asked the question, send an email to success@mixmax.com and they can give you a definitive answer. Good
stuff. And with that, I think we can wrap things up. Loretta, it's so nice to meet you folks at Mixmax, and thank you for creating a really compelling product. It's helped me out a lot, and I know that a lot of people, their business is the better for having integrated your tool within their system. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us, and thanks for being a user. And all of you folks in the Dotto Tech community, thanks for taking the time to learn more about Mixmax.
That's it. We will sign off now. I've got to thank, who is your person? I've missed her name.
Viviana. Viviana is our person.
Viviana. Thank you, Viviana. And also to Liz and April on my team for supporting us in chat. To the Dotto Tech community, which as always asks such great questions. Thank you so much for your support here today. We will catch you next time on our next product showcase. Once again, thanks, Loretta. Till next time, I'm Steve Dotto. Have fun storming a castle.